Welcome to Miller's Monsters, and I'm Mr. Beelzebub. This is, right here, come on, show your pretty face. That's Count Luna, and behind me is Edgar P. the Scully, and I'm going to go over the true inspiration for the movie Wolf Creek. And if you don't know Wolf Creek, it's Mick Taylor is our murderer in this film, and he's picking up backpackers and stray motorists. He spends time getting to know them. He seems like a really nice guy, and eventually he ends up drugging them, and then all hell breaks loose because he's no longer this nice guy. He tortures them, murders them, and at times rapes them. And that spawned, as this movie was popular enough to spawn a sequel, Wolf Creek 2. Both two very brutal, violent movies. So at this point, if you have young kids watching this, or if you're a young kid yourself, I would let's go watch something else maybe, or put the kids in their room. And before I do that, I'll give you time to do that, and I will ask you to ring the bell, subscribe, hit the like button, set you up for notifications so you don't miss another killer thriller episode, and tell your friends, have them also like and subscribe, and I thank you in advance for that. Okay, so the true inspiration of Wolf Creek was based on two murders, one serial killing performed by Ivan Milat called the Backpack Murders, and then a murder and attempted kidnapping by Bradley John Murdoch. And he was convicted of killing a 28-year-old tourist and trying to kidnap his wife, fiance, girlfriend, I don't remember which off the top of my head, and she was able to escape and hide in the woods until he left once. She was smart, she stayed in the woods, okay, and he came back to hide the vehicle they were driving in, took off again, and she waited for a while longer and eventually ventured to the road laid in the grass and waited for somebody to come by, and she waved them down, and she was taken to the police department that took the information, and pretty much that ended it there until years later, as the rumor mill got started, and she was trying to be looked like they were believing she was involved with the murder because how people judge how she dressed her in the interviews and things of that sort. And that finally got the investigation going again to where they finally traced it back to Bradley John Murdoch, and he was convicted of the crime and sentenced to life in prison. Now, our other person that was inspiration for this was Ivan Milat, and he killed upwards to 7 people that he was convicted for, ended up dying in prison for this, and maybe many more. They don't know for sure. But what he would do is he would offer backpackers a ride, okay, and give them a ride, talk to them, be friendly with them, and then all of a sudden his demeanor would change and he would tie them up and tell them it's a robbery, and subsequently murder them. All in all, of the 7 victims they found, most of them were stabbed repeatedly through their clothing, one up to 35 times. So it was a very violent and brutal killing. Some were beheaded. I know one head has never been found of one of the victims. A couple of the victims were used as target practice, and they can tell that because multiple shots to the head were from different angles, and then they found a tree that was riddled with bullets, and one of the other victims was again riddled with bullets as if used in target practice. He also raped a few of his victims, or all of them, don't know for sure, and got away away with it for several years. The bodies were found, a couple here, a couple there, over there was 3-4 years. And at first they put out a $100,000 reward for information to find this killer, and then it was a $500,000 reward that was offered to find Ivan Milat. And this reward, or the international fame that this story gained, got them thousands of phone calls, but there was a few that led them to the killer. And to tell you that, I have to tell you a story from earlier on in, I believe it was 1990. Our murderer, Ivan, who was going by the name of Bill, met a backpacker named Onion. Yes, that's what they called him. And offered him a ride. And so while they're riding, they're exchanging pleasantries, they're talking, everything seems nice. And all of a sudden, Bill, or slash Ivan, starts talking about immigration, and it's making Onion very uncomfortable, and the conversation turned dark, his opinion towards immigration. And eventually, Bill says, hey, I got to pull over, get some cassette tapes from underneath the seat I want to listen to. But there was a bunch of cassette tapes right there in easy reach. So Bill gets out and reaches under his seat and pulls out a rope and a gun and points it at Onion and says, hey, this is a robbery. Onion doesn't hesitate, jumps out of the car, starts running. Smart man. It's either die there or die running, and hey, give me a running chance, if not anything, although I'm not running very fast. But he ran in a zigzag pattern, and there's nothing funny about this, but you always just reminds me of the joke always, I think it was Big Bang or another sitcom that said, run from my dad, he's a cop, he has a gun, and while you're running away, run in a zigzag pattern. But anyways, don't know why. I have a morbid sense of humor, I guess, but that's what it reminded me of. And he was able to cross the highway and get far enough away from Bill slash Ivan that he was able to run in front of a van traveling the other way, stop the van, just opened the door of the van and jumped in without saying anything, and then turned to the shocked lady driver and said, he's got a gun, let's go. And she takes off, turns the other way, takes off. They go to the police station. Well, nothing can be done about it. They can't find any evidence, and even when they're finding these bodies, they couldn't find any evidence. So now we go back to the $500,000 reward. Don't know if that was the motivation or not, but this has become such an international story now, and there was even a music video put out that showcased missing children. And there was a few teenagers that were unfortunately involved in this. And so the police get these two phone calls, one from the lady that picked up Onion and drove him to the police station and said, hey, this is what happened on the night, gave him a description of the car and everything. And then Onion himself managed to make a phone call, good for him. And he was later, out of a photo lineup, identify our killer, Ivan Milat. And then in the end, they arrested Milat, and they figured he had kept souvenirs of these murders. And so they searched his home, and they found several souvenirs, sleeping bags, articles of clothing that belonged to the victims, and even pictures of his girlfriend wearing these articles of clothing from the victim. So this guy is really, very, very low down, dirty psychopath. And thankfully he was caught, and as I said, he died in prison after being sentenced to life, being found guilty of all 7 murders, and they're not sure if he was involved in more or not. So the director of Wolf Creek took these two people, took all the seedy dark characteristics of these people, blended it all together, and came up with the character of Mick Taylor that you see in Wolf Creek and Wolf Creek 2. The interesting thing, Wolf Creek was completed before Bradley John Murdoch's trial was finished. So when Wolf Creek came out, it wasn't allowed to be shown in the Northern Territories for fear of prejudice, of jeopardizing the trial. So fortunately, it didn't. He was found guilty, and that's the inspiration for Wolf Creek and Wolf Creek 2, and a couple unfortunate events there. So if you liked what you heard, I don't know if that's the right word, or let's say if you found this interesting, ring the bell, hit the subscribe, hit the like button, set yourself up for notifications so you don't miss another episode, and please tell your friends about me, about us. We're family, and I will talk to you later.